Welcome back to Investing Talk Podcast. Today, we're zeroing in on a big one, a company everyone watches closely, Apple. And we're asking that key question investors are grappling with right now. Is Apple a good time to buy now?
Yeah, it's definitely the question on everyone's mind. It's tricky because, Apple's obviously a powerhouse, but is it worth the current price, especially after the swings we've seen this year? That's what we need to figure out. So we're going to dig into the latest info we have, the Q3 2025 filings. Recent analyst takes the whole picture. We'll look at the financials, the stock chart, and what might move the price next.
Right. That's the plan. Cut through the noise, give you clear insights. But hey, before we dive in, quick favor, please hit subscribe, like this assessment, and leave a comment. Seriously, let us know what you think. And if there's another company you want us to analyze like this, drop it in the comments below. We love getting your suggestions.
Okay, let's get started. Foundation first. The financials. Apple's numbers through Q3 2025, ending June 28th, were actually, pretty impressive, especially given the wider economy.
Okay, give us the key figures. What makes you say impressive? What shows they're not, hitting a wall?
Well, the top line, revenue, came in at $94.0 billion. That's a 10% jump compared to the same time last year. For a company this big, 10% growth is significant. It shows people are still buying. And maybe more importantly for the bottom line, the earnings per share, the EPS, that rose 12% year over year to $1.57.
10% revenue growth at Apple scale is huge. Absolutely. But let's put that in context with earlier this year, right?
Exactly. You have to remember Q1 2025, which ended back in December 2024. That quarter was an all-time record for them. Revenue hit $124.3 billion. So Q3 shows the momentum is still there, maybe not peak record, but the scale of spending is just massive.
Okay, and profitability. Revenue growth is one thing, but are the margins holding up? Where's that EPS leverage coming from?
Margins are definitely robust. And the growth isn't just one thing carrying the load. We saw double-digit increases in iPhone, Mac, and services. And services, especially, hit another all-time high revenue number. That's really important.
Yeah.
That recurring revenue is like a buffer against the ups and downs of hardware sales cycles.
Yeah, that services number is always key. Okay, speaking of buffers and stability, let's talk balance sheet. Capital allocation, they're sitting on mountains of cash. How are they managing it? Is it smart?
Their financial footing is just rock solid. It's what sets them apart. As of Q3, they have some short-term debt, about $9.9 billion in commercial paper, quick borrowing for immediate needs, pretty standard. But that's tiny compared to their long-term debt, $92.2 billion in fixed-rate notes. That signals they're planning long-term, confident about managing it.
Okay, standard debt management. But the big story for investors is often the buybacks, right? How aggressive were they with returning capital this year?
Oh, it was huge, staggering, really. In just the first half of fiscal 2025, they bought back $48.3 billion worth of their own shares.
Right.
That's 208 million shares taken off the market. That's not just routine stuff. That's management basically shouting they think their stock is the best investment out there, better than anything else they could spend that nearly $50 billion on.
Wow, $48 billion in 6 months. That is a massive vote of confidence. And for listeners focused on income, what about the dividend?
They kept that going, too. Recently declared $0.26 per share, payable mid-August 2025. So you combine that solid dividend with those monster buybacks, you get this incredibly stable financial giant that's actively working to boost long-term shareholder value.
All right, so the balance sheet says they've got the resources. But in tech, it's always about staying ahead. How are they using that strength to keep customers loyal, especially with companies like Samsung and Google breathing down their necks?
It really comes back to that ecosystem. That's the word you always hear. The analysis consistently shows Apple keeps its lead because its installed base of devices is enormous and customer loyalty is incredibly high pretty much everywhere globally. Once you're in with the iPhone, the Mac, the watch, they all work together so smoothly. Switching becomes a real hassle. It's like a soft lock-in.
That famous walled garden. So loyalty keeps hardware moving. But you mentioned services earlier. Is that really the key strategic piece now for diversification?
Absolutely. Services growth is the crucial pivot. It makes them less dependent on those big, sometimes unpredictable hardware upgrade cycles. Think of Apple Music, iCloud, App Store commissions. It's like a subscription layer.
Yeah.
Steady income, whether or not you bought the newest iPhone this year.
Makes sense. And technologically, what gives them an edge now? Everyone's got fast chips and nice designs. What's genuinely different?
It boils down to things they control completely. Their own custom chips, Apple Silicon, that gives them an edge in performance and power efficiency. Then there's the closed operating system, iOS, macOS. And now the big one everyone's watching, Apple Intelligence. That's where a lot of the future growth story and the current stock valuation is coming from.
Apple Intelligence.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the big reveal at WWDC 25. That ties perfectly into the stock's current situation. So financials are strong, the moat seems intact. But what's the chart saying is now the time, technically speaking?
Well, looking at the price action in September 2025, the stock's been moving mostly between, say, $172 and $182 per share. Kind of a tight range with high volume. Obviously, we saw some jumps, some volatility around that Q3 earnings release.
A tight range like that often suggests a bit of a tug of war, right? Bulls versus bears. What are the critical levels investors should watch? Where's the floor and where's the ceiling we need to break?
Yeah, exactly. For support, the key zone seems to be around $165 to $168. The stock bounced off that area several times this year, which is a good sign, suggests buyers are stepping in there. On the upside, resistance is looking like $185 to $190. Getting convincingly above $190, that could trigger a bigger move higher towards those analyst targets we'll talk about.
Okay, 165, 168 support, 185, $190 resistance. Got it. And the underlying technical health. Do the indicators back up the fundamental strength, or are they showing weakness?
No, the indicators look pretty supportive right now. The price is holding well above its 200-day moving average. That's your big long-term trend indicator, and it's still pointing up. So the market hasn't lost faith in the long-term picture despite volatility. And the 50-day moving average is currently acting as dynamic support too. That's just positive short to medium-term momentum.
What about momentum oscillators, things like RSI or MACD? What's the sort of internal temperature of the stock?
The RSI, the Relative Strength Index, is hovering just above 60, which is actually a pretty good spot. It shows positive momentum, buying pressure, but it's not yet in that overbought zone above 70. So theoretically, there's still room to climb before it looks stretched, and the MCD indicator turned positive and has been trending higher since the earnings report. So yeah, technically, things look pretty constructive.
Okay, so technicals are aligning with the strong fundamentals. That's encouraging. Now let's talk sentiment, market mood. That can move a stock like Apple faster than anything sometimes. What's the general feeling out there?
The mood's definitely shifted back to bullish, I'd say. Remember, earlier in the year, there was some skepticism about their AI strategy. A lot of that seems to have faded, especially after the WWDC announcements, analyst ratings. Overwhelmingly, buy or overweight. Price targets are mostly clustered between $190 and $215. You see firms like Morningstar giving it 4 stars, really emphasizing that wide economic moat from the ecosystem.
Right, you can feel that relief rally almost.
Mm-hmm.
What about insiders? The executives, the board, are they selling shares heavily? Any red flags there?
Always worth checking insider activity, for sure. We are seeing some selling from executives in the filings, but, and this is crucial, it looks like it's almost all through pre-scheduled 10b5-1 plans. These are set up way in advance for personal financial planning, diversification, tax reasons. It's not panic selling. We're not seeing large, unexpected blocks of shares being dumped, which would be a worry. So no major signs of lost confidence internally.
Good to know. So strong Q3, the Apple Intelligence reveal, confidence seems restored. Okay, let's look ahead. What are the key dates, the catalysts coming up in the next, say, 3 months that investors really need to have on their radar?
Right, there are several things lining up that could definitely move the needle. First up, product news. We're expecting announcements around the next iPads, maybe some Vision Pro updates, probably around October 8th, 2025. Hardware cycles kicking off.
New product buzz. And earnings, naturally.
Q4 2025 earnings, that should land somewhere in late October or early November. Always a big one. But also keep an eye on November 1st. That's the deadline for big institutional investors, the hedge funds and mutual funds, to file their 13Fs. That's when we see who bought and sold Apple in the previous quarter. Those filings can sometimes cause short-term swings as the market digests the big money moves.
Good point. The 13 Fs. And then heading into the holidays. The consumer spending test.
Exactly. Black Friday sales reports, general holiday season buzz. That'll come around late November, probably starting November 27th. That data is critical. It gives us a real sense of consumer demand and sets the tone for revenue expectations going into early 2026.
Okay, lots to watch in the short term. Now, stepping back again, what about the bigger picture, the long-term drivers, maybe even the more speculative stuff?
Long term, it really feels like it's all about executing on that AI promise. The full rollout of Apple Intelligence across devices, new AI-powered services, that's expected to be the main engine. There is a lot of speculation, for instance, about a completely reimagined, truly smart Siri that could be a game changer for how people use their devices.
A Siri that actually works. Imagine that. And on the hardware side, are they looking beyond the current lineup? New categories, new price points.
That seems to be the plan. Lots of rumors about them pushing harder on lower-cost mixed reality headsets, trying to bring that Vision Pro tech to a wider audience beyond just the super premium market, and also talk about potentially targeting the mid-range phone market more aggressively, maybe an iPhone 17 or something similar, trying to capture more share in emerging markets or from Android switchers.
Interesting, expanding the reach. Finally, though, we have to talk about the big shadow hanging over services regulation. Specifically, things like the EU's Digital Markets Act.
Yeah, that's the elephant in the room, particularly for the App Store. It's the biggest regulatory headline risk. If there's some kind of compromise or settlement on how the DMA gets enforced, that could actually be a huge positive catalyst, remove a lot of uncertainty. But right now, the threat of being forced to change that high-margin App Store model is definitely weighing on sentiment and valuation.
Okay, we've hit the strengths, the opportunities, but every investment has risks. Let's be clear about the potential downsides noted in the sources. What are the main headwinds?
I'd group them into 3 buckets. First, company-specific risk. Call it innovation risk. Apple needs those hit products and services. If Apple Intelligence doesn't live up to the hype, or the next iPhone cycle is weak, the stock will feel it. Also under company risk is their heavy reliance on China, both for manufacturing and sales. That geopolitical exposure is always a factor.
Right, the China dependence.
Yeah.
And the regulatory pressure you just mentioned.
That's the second bucket. It's ongoing. Antitrust probes, not just in the EU, but elsewhere, focusing on the App Store, on services. It could force changes to how they make money. That's a fundamental risk. And third, there's just general market and sector risk. Apple is very tied to consumer spending. If the economy slows, people buy fewer expensive gadgets. Plus, competition isn't sleeping. Microsoft, Google, Samsung, they're all pushing hard in AI and hardware too. Apple has to keep running just to stay ahead.
Okay, makes sense. Innovation, geopolitics regulation, and market competition. So let's pull it all together. Based on everything, the strong Q3, the technical setup looking okay, the AI potential, but also these risks. What's the final take? What's the rating for Apple as an investment right now?
Looking at all the pieces, our analysis suggests an overall rating of, let's say, 8 out of 10. The rationale is pretty straightforward. The strengths are just so compelling. The fortress balance sheet, record earnings, huge capital returns, that sticky ecosystem, these seem to outweigh the negatives for now. The main risks being, yes, the valuation is still pretty high, they depend on product cycles, and that regulatory cloud isn't going away.
An 8 out of 10. And for you, the listener, thinking about putting capital to work, what kind of time frame are we talking about here? Is this a trade or something to hold?
Definitely feels like it's positioned for long-term investment. The real appeal here isn't trying to time the next product launch pop. It's about Apple's proven ability to compound capital over years and years. Through those buybacks, through the steady growth in services, through finding that next wave of innovation, it's a long-haul story.
Well said. And that brings us perfectly to our final thought for you to chew on this week.
Right. So we've talked a lot about how Apple's competitive edge and a big chunk of its profit comes from that closed ecosystem, especially the App Store. Here's the question. If regulators, like with the EU's Digital Markets Act, actually succeed in forcing Apple to significantly open up that services model, maybe allow competing app stores or payment systems, how much of the current stock price, how much of that optimistic valuation is truly built on sustainable ground? Really thinking through that balance between the ecosystem strength and the regulatory risk. That's the core challenge for anyone investing in Apple for the long run.
A really critical question indeed. Food for thought. All right, that's our look at Apple for today. Thanks for tuning in. As always, do your own homework, stay informed, and we'll catch you on the next analysis.